Brrr!
What is up, denizens of podcast land, coming to you from the chilly, snow-covered upper Midwest. I am the maestro, Kevin Crane.
I'm the conquistador, Dave Height.
Again, we're a little late this week. Normally, we like to get the Sports Frenzy podcast out as early as we can on Thursdays, but weather has been an issue this week. So you're still getting a Thursday podcast, just later in the day instead of earlier.
Yep. Last week was birthday related for my oldest, and this week was pure weather.
Yep, life happens. Deal with it, kids. So we're taping here on February the 3rd, 2022. This will hit
right after we're done.
We'll wrap it up and put it out there for you to enjoy. So, of course, we have to talk about the football games that we enjoyed this past weekend.
Yep.
Championship week, Championship Sunday.
Yes. Some good games.
Yeah, following up with a really good weekend. I will not go so far as to say it was the greatest football weekend of all time, like many want to.
There was one outstanding game, 3 mediocre games that were kept close.
Yep. So now we get another couple really close games, both again decided by 3 points.
Yes, a kind of a tale of two halves in each game as well. So we should probably start with the big upset, the first game. Bengals going into Arrowhead, taking out the Chiefs.
Yeah, and I'll have to admit, I did bail on this one for a while. I went back and watched it, but when it was 21-3, I was like, okay, we're done.
You know,
I'm taking a break, and I'm going to wait until the late game.
Yeah, no, I kept it on in the background, what was doing other things, and lo and behold, the Bengals defense made the adjustments they needed to, and Burrow started a comeback. It was very entertaining.
Yeah, now we have to look at, number one, doesn't matter if it was Mahomes or it was Reed at the end of the first half. Did Mahomes talk Reed into going for the touchdown instead of kicking the field goal? Because that would have made a big, big difference.
Yes, it would have points on the board. It was a swing, and it was a momentum changer for the whole game.
Yeah, because in the second half, like you said, the Bengals adjusted, and Pat Mahomes for the first time, yes, I said Pat Mahomes. When he doesn't play well, I will refer to him as Pat Mahomes, and he looked like
he couldn't get out of his own way.
He was frustrated. He was trying to make some kind of Superman play, down after down after down, and it got to the point where it was a fail, sack.
Yep, rattled his cage, and he implodes like a house of cards in a windstorm.
And that goes back to the Buccaneers, the game plan the Buccaneers had against them last year.
Yep.
Get after him, pressure him, hit him, and he gets rattled and he gets frustrated. And the Bengals did the exact same thing to him.
Yes, they did.
It's a shame the Bills couldn't do that the week before.
Yeah. Take note there, Mr. Frazier.
Yes, because it does look like Leslie Frazier will be back. There are still a few openings left. But, yeah, as we talked about last week, I still can't see anybody hiring him, although controversy coming up once we get done recapping the championship games.
Yeah.
Maybe not.
Maybe. Who knows?
But, yeah, Joe Burrow once again proves that he might be the best young quarterback in the NFL.
Yeah. He definitely shows a lot of poise and confidence back there in his ability.
He doesn't get rattled.
He doesn't.
We go back to last week, 9 sacks. The Titans sacked him 9 times. And he just got back up and went back in and ran the next play.
What was it? 1 or 2 times Burrow was sacked by Kansas City?
Yeah, he did a much better job. The line did. I mean, obviously, I think the Titans defense is the Kansas City defense has been hit or miss all year. Everybody's been trying to give Spagnuolo all this credit for, they revamped the defense and he's done a great job. Remember, they had a really nasty run there at the beginning of the season for about 4 or 5 weeks. They were not playing well.
No, they were not. They got better but they showed their tendencies were coming back.
Right. Now I wonder going forward what the future holds for this Chiefs team, because as Mahomes' contract escalates with his extension, as you get close to that $50 million a year area.
Yeah, you're not going to be able to hold on to your other big playmakers.
Right. Even if the NFL keeps bumping the cap up, and I'm sure they will as long as ratings are good. And they've been great this year. Absolutely great.
But at some point, you cannot afford to have all these guys together.
You're not going to be able to keep Kelsey and Tyreek Hill and Mahomes and Tyrann Mathieu, Frank Clark. You're going to have to let somebody go at some point.
A couple of somebodies.
Right. And you're going to be drafting late in the first round.
Yep.
So you're not going to be able to get the primo draft picks that you were used to getting 6-7 years ago.
Yeah. And you're not necessarily going to be able to help via free agency either, being up against the cap.
Yep. So I'd hate to say this, but this might have been Mahomes and Reed's last shot, especially if Aaron Rodgers ends up getting traded to Denver.
That is going to throw a wrench in everything.
Right.
But then you don't know, will San Diego finally make the adjustments that they have to?
That's up to the coach. To me, that's up to the coach. I was thinking about that the other day because I was just mulling over the teams who going into next year are poised to make that next step, like the Bengals this year. And of course, Chargers are the first one I think of, but it's got to be the coach. Staley has got to get away from the stupid analytics and the stupid decisions.
Manage the game, not the stats sheet.
You've got one of the top 5 running backs in the game. You've got a combo of receivers that are solid. You've got one of the best young quarterbacks in the game. You've got Joey Bosa. You've got Derwin James in the secondary. You have all the pieces
to be there. Get out of your own damn way.
Right. And I blame this year completely on Staley because, again, and you could say the same thing about John Harbaugh in Baltimore.
Yep.
Getting sucked in with the analytics, going for 2 when you shouldn't, kicking the extra point.
Analytics are great for game planning, but the key to being a good head coach is being able to adjust to the game flow on the fly.
I look at it this way. Going for 2 shouldn't come into play until the second half. I don't care what happens in the first half. You should not be thinking about going for 2 until the second half.
Exactly.
And that killed Mike Vrabel with the Titans.
Yep.
In the first game, the Bengals won here in the playoffs. And again, we talked about it last week. 5th round pick, kicker, McPherson, money,
clutch.
Solid, clutch.
The kid's good. He's going to have that job there for a very long time.
Yeah. Yep. We talked about it. Janikowski, of course, getting picked in the first round. But if you see that kind of talent, even if it's special teams,
you have to jump on it because let's face it, special teams are extremely important.
Ask the Green Bay Packers how important special teams are.
Just lost the game primarily because of their special teams. Let their special teams coordinator go. What was that? The 3rd one in the last 4 years that they've been through.
Yep. And like you said off mic before we started, this is going to be the year. Even if Aaron Rodgers stays in Green Bay, this is going to be the year to find out how great, quote unquote, a coach Matt LaFleur really is.
Yeah.
Losing all his coordinators
and assistant coaches down the line.
Right.
There's been an exodus out of Green Bay.
So the Bengals go in to play for the 2nd year in a row, the home team. Last year it was the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at Raymond James Stadium. This year it will be, even though technically they're not the home team, but they're playing at SoFi Stadium, the LA Rams.
Yep, the Rams who got by the Niners. And you said it would come down to a stupid play by Garoppolo. And it did.
I'm going to say it wasn't. I'm going to bear with me here,
Are you
because
going to go with the interception that was dropped?
that's the key play. Tart dropping the interception
That would
was
have
the key play.
sealed that game.
I look at the Garoppolo. The number one, Aaron Donald decided he wasn't going to take anymore. Aaron Donald, that last drive, said, I am going to win the goddamn game for the Rams. He was just pushing through that line, barreling through that line. Garoppolo didn't have any time to do anything.
No. And Donald finally couldn't have picked a better time to have asserted himself.
Right. The reason why I'm not going to lay it on Garoppolo this time, even though I appreciate you saying that, I was going to call out Garoppolo for Garoppoloing all over himself, is that because that was 3rd and long. He's turning and twisting. He was doing a Mahomes, basically.
Yeah.
Except he didn't have the athletic skill.
It was that whole drive, though.
Well, the one before, too. The one before was abysmal as well, where they just couldn't do anything. They looked inept.
Yeah.
Again, just like the Super Bowl 2 years ago, 3 quarters, they looked invincible. They looked smart. They looked solid. They looked in control. And then they shit themselves in the 4th quarter. And that's what they did again here. The only reason I'm not going to give them a hard time for that 3rd down interception where he flicked the ball out and Jermichael Hasty went through his hands and then it got picked, game over. It was 3rd and long as it was.
And it was desperation mode.
Even if Jermichael Hasty had caught that, they would have lost 2 or 3 yards. It would have been 4th and long. They're not going to make it.
No, they weren't.
So I don't necessarily put that on Garoppolo per se.
No, some of that has to go to Shanahan too.
Yeah, I think Shanahan's the one that takes the blame for the last couple drives in that 4th quarter where they did not put Garoppolo or that offense in any semblance of a situation.
They got away from what they were doing.
Yes, exactly.
They completely changed up what they were doing. And how many times have we said...
When did you hear Deebo Samuel's name mentioned in the last 7 or 8 minutes of the game?
You didn't.
Even though he was the stud, the star player, the first 3 quarters.
Yeah, they didn't go to him, and he was open.
So now the rumblings and rumors about Garoppolo start, especially with Tom Brady's retirement, which we'll get to. Of course, people are saying now Buccaneers, they throw a 2nd-round pick at the 49ers. They could have Jimmy G because Kyle Trask is not ready yet.
No.
He's still a year or 2 out. He was not a top pick, so it's understandable. Yeah. It's not like with San Francisco now where next year they've already got their guy in place. They already have the heir apparent for Jimmy G.
Yeah, no, the Bucs need a stopgap.
Right. So we'll see how that goes. It's going to be an interesting Super Bowl. I will say this. The Chiefs getting knocked out immediately made it an interesting Super Bowl because I was afraid if the Chiefs, as we saw in the first quarter and a half in the AFC Championship, looked like they were going to steamroll their way through, I was thinking, oh my God, the Super Bowl is going to be murder. 49ers, Rams are going to get destroyed by the Chiefs. Now it gets interesting.
Now it's intriguing. We could have a good game because, yes, Stafford has stepped up so far.
But I don't think he stepped up.
Trust him enough to win a Super Bowl. He can thank the defense for stepping up against the Niners and getting them there.
Well, you just said it a couple minutes ago. Stafford threw that awful pass that Tart should have intercepted and ended the game.
That was hand-delivered by Stafford into his arms. It doesn't get any easier of a pick.
And I am going to go out on a limb early here and point out one thing. Even though we're a week and a half out, based on that throw, Burrow's arm strength versus Stafford's arm strength will make the difference at some point in this game. I'm not saying the Bengals are going to win. I'm not saying the Rams are going to lose because of it, but you're going to see Burrow launch a pass to Jamar Chase or T. Higgins, whereas Stafford can't throw that ball anymore. as
Yeah.
we saw. That's why that ball came right into his numbers, right into his chest.
You also have to remember late in the game on that one sack that Stafford took, he grabbed his hip right away. As soon as he went down, he was grabbing his hip and gimped off the field. You haven't heard anything about it, but if his leg isn't there under him for a throw, that's going to impede him too.
Yeah. But I think we've seen with Stafford throughout these playoffs, he can't make the throws
No,
he was
like
able to make
to.
6, 7, 8 years ago.
Yeah. No, the arm is not there.
And that Garoppolo was having the same problem. You were watching two quarterbacks with noodle arms, basically.
Yeah.
Who could not get the ball downfield. And that's why, as potent of a weapon as Deebo Samuel is,
he's not the deep threat.
If he had somebody who could launch the ball 50, 60 yards down the field to him, being the burner that he is,
look out.
He'd have the kind of year Cooper Kupp had. And Cooper Kupp had that year with noodle arm.
I know. Because Cooper Kupp is a phenomenal route runner.
Look at his coach. Who's his coach?
There you go.
He's a glorified, I'm not saying this in a bad way, he's a glorified slot receiver. Glorified. And again, not saying that in a bad way. That means I'm saying he's more versatile. He can be the slot guy to get 10, 11 catches a game. And then he can make the big play like he did against Tampa Bay to set up the game-winning field goal. He's not the Jamar Chase burner down the field. No,
he's not. He's the Wes Welker workman-like, run the route the right way, get open, create the separation, and be sure hands and get the catch.
Yep, and congrats to him for being the first receiver in NFL history, postseason, regular season combined, over 2,000 yards.
That's just incredible.
You and I talked about this.
He should be the MVP.
Yeah. The minute Aaron Rodgers gets up on that podium at the NFL honors ceremony, and
Cooper Kupp.
I hope people start throwing DVDs of John Wick at his head. Jackass. God. So, again, we don't have picks this week. This is like one of the few weeks throughout the year that we don't have any picks.
Yeah, this is a rarity.
So next week we will have our Super Bowl picks from our panel. And then maybe, I have not decided yet when I'm going to demand Daytona 500 picks yet.
Yeah, we'll have to take a look at that.
Because if I upset the schedule, usually picks are due Wednesday night. If I upset the schedule and try to get them in on a Tuesday, because qualifying for the pole position is on a Wednesday this year, I could just see
mass
us
chaos.
Getting ready to do our podcast and 2 or 3 people running late, not getting their picks in, because qualifying will basically start when we start taping.
Yeah. Which NASCAR just jacks everything up. They've shrunk speed weeks down so much. Pole qualifying used to be on a Sunday. And then you had a few days before they ran the duels, which used to be the twin 125s.
Well, and now they're at the mercy of the NFL, with the NFL bumping back the Super Bowl a week.
Yeah, that kind of hosed them there.
Right. And, of course, we've got NASCAR coming up later. A couple little tidbits here before we move on to the other NFL news of the week. If I was a betting man, which I am not, holy crap, I wish I had put $10 on the Bengals at the beginning of the season. Do you know?
Oh, my God.
I'm talking right at the beginning, right
before
at the
beginning.
The kickoff of the first game of the 2021-22 season, the Bengals were 125-1 to win the Super Bowl.
Yep.
Or to get to the Super Bowl.
To get to the Super Bowl.
Yeah. 125-1.
Damn.
Yeah, and that gives hope to a lot of teams out there.
Yeah. You can turn
They flipped it around from 4-12 last year.
It's the NFL. the one league where you can make a dramatic turn in one season.
Yep.
You can go jump from the bottom to the top or go from the top to the bottom.
Joe Burrow is looking to become the first quarterback ever to pull off the ultimate trifecta. If he wins coming up here a week from Sunday, if the Bengals win the Super Bowl, he would become the first quarterback ever to win the Heisman, the national championship,
and a Super Bowl.
Quarterback.
Yeah, quarterback.
There have been other players who have won all three, but not at quarterback.
Yeah.
Charles Woodson's done it. Tony Dorsett's done it.
Yeah. That would be one hell of a feat.
Then finally, the people out there, the pundits, the mass media are starting to finally catch up with me and finally starting to realize how much of an idiot Tony Romo is.
The man,
just let him score. You should just let the Chiefs score.
You're an idiot.
And I have heard,
oh my God.
I have heard multiple people over the past week calling him exactly what I've called him for months and months. Oh, Tony sounded like he was a drunk in a bar calling a game instead of a $17 million a year high-paid network analyst.
I mean, my God.
I've been saying that for months.
The last month alone, he has been absolutely atrocious.
Awesome. Unbelievable. Awesome. Great analysis, Tony. Great analysis.
My God, what is he on that he's getting so damn excited? And he's next to Mr. Mello.
He's destroying Jim Nantz, is how I look at it.
Yeah.
Nantz was Mr. Steady. I was never a huge fan of Jim Nantz, but least
he kept an even keel, and he was so damn impartial.
Yes, he was mellow. I always thought of golf, good. For Nantz, football, But yeah, he's getting sucked into this whole Romo aura, this Romo vibe, and he starts acting like Romo.
I know, it's not a good thing.
It's uncomfortable.
It's painful. It's absolutely painful to listen to.
All right, one last thing.
As if Tony wasn't painful enough.
And then we'll start in. We're probably going to carry over our NFL talk into the second segment. So
yeah, there's just too damn much.
Be prepared for that. But the last thing involving the Super Bowl, kudos to the city of Cincinnati. You know what? It's about goddamn time.
They
no school after the Super Bowl. No school Monday in Cincinnati.
That's brilliant. That is an awesome way to get the kids behind the team, your future generation of fans.
Why? Don't drag the
Celebrate
kids in.
it.
The parents are going to be dog tired. The kids are going to be dog tired. Let them enjoy it. Let them relax on Monday.
I love it. Brilliant.
Now, of course, we have to turn our attention to the Chicago Bears.
Our new coordinators.
I don't even know if it's the... And again, we're going to get to the big controversy of the week here with the Brian Flores lawsuit. And, of course, the Bears, a lot of people think the Bears are the poster child this hiring cycle for what's wrong. Of course, they're stupid because they're not looking at the fact of who the Bears hired as the GM.
Right. We hired Ryan Poles, who's an African-American, to be our general manager.
And he wanted to hire Eberflus.
Right. It was his decision.
So you really can't call the Bears out.
No, you can't. Because they have... Poles has been given pretty much the authority as the head of football operations for the Bears. He reports to nobody but McCaskey as the owner.
Now, that being said, putting all the other controversies aside, just looking at what the Bears have done over the last week, the introductory press conferences, by all accounts, were uncomfortable and abysmal.
Yeah, they were not good. They did not win over the fans at all.
Polls coming out saying we're going to grab and take the
North.
NFC North and we're never giving it back.
Ouch. Eberflus and all his acronyms.
Yeah, we did that last week. That was fun. But of course, now our offensive coordinator is Luke Getsy. If you can't beat him, join him, I guess. We poached him from
the passing coach from Green Bay.
Yeah.
And hey, I don't care as long as he gets you some points on the board for the Bears.
Oh, I like that one, Dave. Ba-doom-ba.
I've been waiting all friggin' week to use that one.
And then, of course, today, defensive coordinator will be Alan Williams. Again, another Colts coach.
Yep, safeties coach that Eberflus brings from Indy.
Right, so I kind of wish we would have held on to our old coordinator.
Yeah, Desai.
I liked the way the defense played last year.
They played really well for him. They stepped up. I mean, what he did to put schemes together with nobody, practice squad guys that he had that were performing at a decent enough level.
At least half the year.
Yeah. I mean, he did a hell of a job with them, and I was kind of sad that he didn't get to hang around.
Now, the one rumor that I'm hearing that I'm hoping comes to fruition.
So
now with the change at head coach in Las Vegas.
So, well, I was just going to follow up. Alan Williams, though, as we were talking about Flores, Alan Williams is an African-American coordinator now.
Right.
So.
Well, no, I don't think it's fair to pick on the Bears because of Eberflus. It's a dumb hire. I'm sorry, it's a dumb hire, but it's not a racist hire.
No, it's not.
The Bears have a better record than most teams out there of hiring now front office people, head coaches, and coordinators of African American or Hispanic descent.
Yeah, and you had two people from their front office on the coaching search and the GM search.
Right. But yeah, the one rumor that I heard was that, of course, now with the coach change in Las Vegas, which we'll get to in the next segment, I'm hearing there's a really close connection between Eberflus and Rick Bisaccia. So they might be bringing Rich Bisaccia in as our special teams coordinator, which I would love.
I would love that.
Would love to have that.
That would be awesome. Yeah. And by accounts, Raiders players really lobbied for Bisaccia.
Yeah. And he did a really good job. He really did.
Under the worst circumstances.
Right.
But we'll see if Josh McDaniels now is mature enough, as he says, to be a head coach.
Yep. And we'll get into all the other NFL news here. We're going to wrap up the first segment. He's a conquistador. I am the maestro. Stay tuned, kids. More NFL coming up. And, of course, NASCAR, basketball, baseball,
golf,
tennis, dumbasses.
Moments of silence.
It's all coming. So stay tuned. We'll be right back. When the mindless zombies at the major sports networks won't leave you alone. When the forces of evil on local sports radio have you cornered. Load up the boomstick known as Sports Frenzy 2.0. Available on Spotify, Anchor, Google, Radio Public, Pocket Cast, Breaker, Apple, Overcast, and CastBox. Kev and Dave will drive the dull and boring voices in your head away and offer you the sports salvation you need. New episodes drop every Thursday. And don't forget the weekend edition every Saturday, where the maestro and the conquistador might just review your favorite horror flick. Sports Frenzy 2.0. It's groovy.
We dug our way out of over almost a foot of snow to bring you this beloved Sports Frenzy 2.0 podcast. I'm the Conquistador, Dave Height.
And I am the sore and tired maestro, Kevin Crane. I don't want to see any more snow for the rest of the goddamn winter.
February 3rd, 2022, we're coming at you. Normally, this would have hit in the morning. It will hit as soon as we're done taping.
Yep, still Thursday.
Still Thursday.
Still keeping our promise to you. Still keeping our promise to you.
All right. Back to the NFL and the coaching changes that continue to haunt us. And the ineptitude that is continuing to be the Minnesota Vikings.
How do you let Jim Harbaugh on National Signing Day? Everybody assumed if Harbaugh is not going to be at Michigan, he's not in Ann Arbor for National Signing Day, he's taking the Minnesota job. They don't offer the job to him. I don't understand it.
Oh, my God.
Did he literally pull his pants down? Did he drop trow and put a deuce on Wolf's desk? What the hell did he do to not get offered the job on National Signing Day? That tells you everything you need to know. And now I think he's screwed because now he's told Michigan he's not committed to them. If he wouldn't be there
looking
on national, again, I hate to keep emphasizing this, but on National Signing Day.
That's not a good look.
I know, that's what I'm saying. It's not a good look for Michigan. It's not a good look for Harbaugh. I've got to believe he's fair game next year.
Oh, yeah. He is
fair game next year for any and every NFL franchise.
Yeah, because there's no way Michigan is going to want to bring him back.
It's a bad look for Michigan. It really is.
Yeah.
Really is. You know, I know, again, the Saints job is still open. The Dolphins job, although that's toxic right now.
Oh, God, yeah.
I don't think Harbaugh would be dumb enough to take the Texans job.
No, maybe the Saints.
Yeah, that would be the only one where I could possibly see a high-level coach like him saying, I could do something with that. But the rest of them, there's too much.
It's a toxic train wreck.
Yep. So Harbaugh goes back to the Wolverines.
Crawling back.
So now the Vikings say they are pretty much zeroed in on Kevin O'Connell, the OC of the Rams, but they cannot make an official offer.
Until after the Super Bowl.
Right. So yet another young, white coordinator gets a job.
Yep. And again, Mr. Bieniemy languishing out there.
Yeah, but
nothing on Leftwich.
And Leftwich, I've heard, is officially out in Jacksonville.
Yeah, he left the negotiating table on the contract.
Yeah, everybody thought a week and a half ago that was a done deal. That is now done.
Yeah,
the other way.
I told you last week that fell apart.
Yep.
So I don't know what Jacksonville's
They don't want
thinking.
to deal with Trent Baalke, the GM.
Yeah.
Trent Baalke is unbelievably hard to get along with by all reports. Shad Khan doesn't want to admit he made a mistake again, not only with Urban Meyer, but now with Trent Baalke. So they're going to get stuck with. And again, we're still looking at an environment where Doug Peterson has only had one interview overall.
I know. How sad is that?
So the Jaguars could still end up falling ass backwards into a decent situation if they could pull him in.
Yeah. Miami.
Nobody's taking that job.
No.
Nobody.
And we'll get to that shortly, but Kellen Moore is going for a second interview with the Dolphins.
I could see him taking it.
A young coordinator.
Right.
That's probably the only hope they would have.
I agree.
With all the crap.
Of course,
that's
the Giants go with Brian Daboll. You can kind of see that coming because when they brought in the GM from the Bills.
Right. You kind of put two and two together. But again, it's not a great look for them. As we open the can of worms that is the Brian Flores lawsuit.
Yep. I think we showed admirable restraint not bringing this up until segment 2, where it's been the lead topic on all of sports radio over the last 3 or 4 days.
Yeah, we needed to get through the setup.
The responsible reporting that we do.
That's right. And we had to set it up for you. And the Dable signing kind of, I think, set Flores off as the final straw when 3 days before Flores' interview with the Giants, he got the errant text from Bill Belichick congratulating him on getting the Giants head coaching job. Unfortunately, Belichick sent it to Flores instead of Dable, who it was intended for. So that's plenty of ammunition in Flores' arsenal for this lawsuit on the sham interviews.
Now, let's be honest. We're going to take a lot of time with this, kids. Let's be honest. The Rooney Rule, the way it's set up, and I don't know how anybody can fix this. And that's all I've heard the last couple days. Nobody has a way to fix this because when you force teams to interview a certain race, creed, color of people, and they look at a great example was the Vikings. If the Vikings knew they were going to get Jim Harbaugh, it didn't turn out they had him.
Right.
They're going to have to, by the letter of the Rooney Rule, the letter of that law, bring in an African-American candidate to interview. Even though they know they want Jim Harbaugh.
Going to hire.
They are going to get Jim Harbaugh.
You have to go through the steps.
So there are sham interviews all over the place, not just based on race. There are a lot of people who've made great points about what if Daboll hadn't actually put pen to paper and signed any kind of an offer with Leslie Frazier, with Flores coming in. They needed to interview them in that situation if that was the case.
Right.
Because if Daboll hadn't officially accepted the job, he could have pulled a Josh McDaniels. He could have backed out.
He could have, and you still need to have people interviewing.
And I'm not saying
it's a slippery slope.
Yeah, it's really tough.
But still, it's
a bad look. It's a bad look.
Yeah, it's not a good situation.
Yeah, and this takes a lot of guts on Flores' part because he probably has blackballed himself. I'm sorry to use that term, but that's the appropriate term for this.
Yeah,
in terms of getting hired this year.
Yeah, unfortunately for him, because he's the one I wanted as head coach in Chicago.
You know damn well I did too. You know I did too. You and I both wanted him. But
badly.
Again, as we've looked at in the last segment, we can't say it was racial ignorance. It was football ignorance.
Football ignorance.
But again, we have an African-American GM hiring a Caucasian coach. So in the Bears case, you can throw the Bears under the bus for being stupid all you want. We'll join you.
Racist.
We'll be right there with you.
They made
but
the wrong
they're not
call.
Racist.
No. So now do we go to his Broncos interview and the claims
That's
made
a really I know it doesn't shock me, doesn't surprise me that they show up disheveled, hungover, late,
not giving him
a proper
interview. It was kind of a
That's the weakest of his points. You can't really make that assumption.
No.
Unless you're taking blood alcohol levels at the interview.
But I'm sorry, it's classless to be late for an interview.
That is true. Yeah.
And to not take it seriously.
And coming from Elway doesn't surprise me a bit.
No, not at all. Because I can see him, I've made my decision. I'm just gonna we'll just get through this. All right, talk. Okay, fine. Bye-bye. Thanks.
Yeah. And I guarantee they're probably going to get screwed in this whole deal with Nathaniel Hackett, because everybody knows the one reason that they brought him in is they're thinking they can get Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
And if Aaron Rodgers either stays in Green Bay or goes somewhere else,
they're hosed.
Tampa Bay. Oh God, I don't want that. I don't want that. But it could happen.
It could happen.
But you bring in Hackett thinking, because this is the kind of stuff that Elway does. Yeah, he thinks he's smarter than everybody in the room, and just because he got lucky with Peyton Manning,
he thinks he can get lucky again.
He has otherwise, outside of the Peyton Manning deal, he has been abysmal running that team. Brock Osweiler, Trevor Siemian, Drew Lock.
Not made good decisions at all. And I think he knows this is probably his last hurrah, because new ownership is not going to keep him around.
Yeah, basically, he's going to go down as the Michael Jordan of the NFL.
Yeah.
We all know Michael Jordan has had a rough time in the NBA trying to get anything going in terms of being a leader on the management side.
Yeah.
Not on the court.
Management side.
Yeah, signing players, running teams.
Yeah.
So I don't know where this is going to go. You've got Gruden out there who's got a lawsuit.
Yep.
You've got the whole mess with Washington we've talked about off mic.
Oh, my God. Yeah, the Giants. Dan Snyder, again, under fire for another sexual harassment claim from a female staffer, where he kept his hand on her thigh until she removed it. And then he was pushing her into his limo until his lawyer intervened, telling him, stop. This is not a good idea.
Now, going back to the Flores thing, because I want to tie this together with what you and I were talking about
with the Dolphins.
Yes. Now we go back to the Dolphins again. This is the scariest part of the Brian Flores lawsuit. And we're going to bring the Washington Commanders into this, because now that is their new name.
Yep. So Stephen Ross, owner of the Dolphins, Flores says that in 2019, Ross offered him a $100,000 bonus per loss to tank the season to get a top draft pick. Wow. There's no law against it, but damn, that destroys the integrity of the game.
This is where I'm getting militant, and I think you agree with me on this. We, again, talked about this.
Hugh Jackson tanking.
Hugh Jackson came out after this disclosure from Brian Flores and this lawsuit. Hugh Jackson came out and said similar situation when he was the head coach of the Browns.
Right.
And I remember this. I remember this abysmal start.
Yeah.
And everybody wondered, they give him an extension. They wondered why. Because that was the
incentive to tank the season.
Right. This is where Dave and I get militant. We're done with this. If the NBA can strip Donald Sterling of his ownership of the Clippers based on an illegal wiretap, stupid but illegal wiretap, where he said racist things, how the hell can the NFL not come out and say, Daniel Snyder, we're taking Washington. Ross, we're taking the Dolphins.
They'll go up for sale. We'll run them until they are sold at fair market value.
Right.
And I'm sorry, especially Washington, because my God, how long have we dealt with this bullshit?
And years. It's not decades.
Yeah, Washington is a horribly run organization. Dan Snyder is a piece of garbage, having allowed all this crap, creating the situations, participating in all this crap. How is he still the owner of this team?
Yep.
How has he not been held accountable in any way of significance? Oh, little slap here, a little slap that. No, bull crap.
And this is the perfect opportunity for Roger Goodell and the other owners to step in now. The Broncos are already on the market. You get the Washington Commanders out there. You get the Dolphins out there. You got 3 teams. Start getting minority owners involved.
That would be a good step.
Obviously, they have to have the money, but I am all for getting rid of the nepotism. As a Chicago Bears fan,
get rid of the good old boys club. It has to go away.
I would love it if the Bears went on the market and get rid of the McCaskies.
Oh, they've got to go. They're the worst owners by far. But the other issue with Miami, Flores contends that Ross tried to force him into illegally tampering with negotiations, trying to recruit a quarterback before they were allowed to begin conversations. Set up a meeting on his yacht for Flores to meet with said quarterback.
Months before the legal quote-unquote tampering period started.
Right. And by all accounts, it was Deshaun Watson that Ross really wanted.
And Flores turned 180
he found
when he
out
saw what was going on
and he said,
walked away.
I'm out.
Yep. This is not going to be fun, kids. This is not going to be fun for the NFL.
It's an ugly situation.
I still think the best solution is, if you can prove these allegations,
take the teams away.
Take the Giants, maybe not.
No, that would be hard-pressed to do there.
Right, but the Dolphins, if you're paying somebody to tank, you lose the team.
If you're trying to put your coach in a position of tampering, that's not good either. Ross has to be held accountable for this type of culture.
Yes. Yeah, you can't. It's got to end. It's got to end. And again, if the NBA is going to take away a team based on an illegal wiretap, when you've got much worse things going on with Washington and Dan Snyder and Ross in Miami.
Yeah. Snyder should be the poster boy for having a team taken away from you.
And I'm with you. You said it perfectly. The good old boys club has got to be broken up. And that includes
Jerry Jones
in Dallas. Because everybody wants to talk about how great he is.
No.
There is shit going on behind the scenes there, I guarantee you.
He is not squeaky clean. He's probably a bigger scumbag than Dan Snyder. He just hides it better.
Of course, Dave brought up in the last segment Josh McDaniels taking over in Las Vegas for the Raiders. Their new GM is Dave Ziegler. Again, you've got that connection. Ziegler comes over from New England. He was director of player personnel for the Patriots. So again, it's nepotism.
Yeah.
Even though it's not technically nepotism.
Right. You're bringing in who you're comfortable with.
Just like the Giants did with Daboll.
Yeah.
So we'll see how this all works out. The Giants brought in Mike Kafka. He'll be their OC. He was the Kansas City quarterback coach. You notice the pattern here, kids? Kansas City.
Yep.
LA. The 3 or 4 teams that these other teams are plucking coordinators from.
Yeah, how is that Kansas City connection working out for Chicago?
I would like to have the Texans offensive coordinator from my coach. Oh wait, that wouldn't work out too well. Would it?
No.
That's another story too. The whole David Culley thing.
Oh God, I know.
Now he got paid. The man walked away with $22 million for 1 year's work.
Yeah.
But that stinks. That reeks down there. And now they're talking about Josh McCown. They say Flores is still in the mix down there.
Oh, but God, Flores would have to take that.
Would he want that job?
If it's what he's offered,
he's got a connection with the GM, though.
He does, and if he doesn't take it, like you said, he's tarnished for at least a year or two. If he wants to stay viable, he would have to take it and do the best he could with it. and hope to parlay it down the line.
Still not knowing what's going on with Deshaun Watson.
Right.
Assuming you have to have Davis Mills as your quarterback.
Yeah, it's God. That
I know,
Texans
I know.
are a train wreck as a team, and you have, oh God, you got an idiot for a GM down there too.
Yeah. Again, everybody who comes from a winning program like the Patriots doesn't necessarily end up being a genius, doesn't end up being the be-all, end-all.
How does...
Look at Patricia in Detroit.
Yeah, that did not go well at all. And I'm sorry, how do you go from being almost the, not quite pastor, but the Patriots counselor, shall we say, to a GM position? How do you talk your way into that? It makes no sense.
No. And the sad thing is, the Texans were actually a really good, viable franchise for about 8 or 9 years.
Yeah, until this douchebag got down there and started weaseling his way in and getting more power and making decisions that have done nothing good for the organization.
Nope.
But the owner is too damn stupid to see it.
Hey, the Pro Bowl's this week, Dave.
Oh, who cares?
Okay, moving on.
People are opting out left and right as usual.
Yep.
Don't play the damn game. Just award them with their honorary starting spots and give them their bonuses and move on.
None of these all-pro games, these all-star games are worth a damn anymore.
They're not.
None of them are.
Even baseball has become a joke once
and
they
I'm
took
one of the
away.
few, I've always said I'm one of the few that liked the fact that home field for the
I
World
loved
Series
it. I thought that was
made
brilliant.
me interested in it. Now I could care less.
Yeah, when it actually mattered,
For something.
I loved it.
For something.
I actually watched it when it mattered.
Now, in the 70s and 80s, when the players actually played hard and cared, that was fine too.
For league pride?
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, oh, yeah, let's mic them all up and distract them during the game. Phooey.
All right, let's talk some college football, wrapping up segment 2, and then we'll get everything else caught up in segment 3, including moments of silence and a few dumbasses.
Yes, there are a few.
Notre Dame here locally, the Blue Gold game will be April the 23rd, exclusively
on Peacock.
Oh, God. We knew this was coming. The end is near.
Yep.
Pay television to watch
Any
your favorite
sports.
team. Now, Notre Dame, by all accounts, did pretty well here. National Signing Day. I'm seeing roughly number 7 overall recruiting class.
A top 10 class with that's not bad.
Nope. Especially after they shit the bed against Oklahoma State.
Yeah. Yep.
Sorry, I was just so happy to see Gundy pull that off.
I like Gundy. I was not super sad to see that.
Now, of course, things did not change at the top. We've talked about this as it was alluded to over the last few months. Texas A&M, Jimbo Fisher
How the hell did he pull that off?
Still had the number 1 class.
Makes no sense. The guy, he's a con man.
Finally, Alabama's got a little bit of trouble.
Yes, they do.
Defensive coordinator Pete Golding.
DUI arrest.
So
I was thinking of saving him for my dumbass.
We've done so many of those, though, with the DUIs, and it's just to the point where it's redundant.
It is. It's stupidity. And
yep.
So what's Saban going to do about this?
Probably nothing.
Nope.
As much as we want to think he's a paragon of college football.
Nope. Nick Saban will let the status quo stay.
Yep. Slap on the wrist.
Yep. Arizona State has parted ways with their defensive coordinator, Antonio Pierce, named as the main culprit in their recruiting violations. Now they're trying to say, oh, he resigned because he had a chance to go into the NFL. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Herm has got to do something this year with that team.
Yeah.
With all the people he's brought in, former NFL coaches on that staff, the Pac-12 is weak.
Yeah, it's a bad conference.
And now you got Lincoln Riley taking over in USC. You had your shot, Herm. Arizona State should have been able to dominate.
Yeah, this is going to be it, because next year, with Riley being there for a full year of recruiting, watch out.
Right. You still got Chip Kelly at UCLA. Oregon, with their new coach, by all accounts, had a really good recruiting class, even though Cristobal left for the U. Herm, you had your shot. This was the year. Now I don't know. You might have let that window of opportunity slam shut,
crashing down on you.
Yep. So, all right, kids. One last segment to go. We're going to talk about the progress
else
in baseball talks.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We're how many $100 million apart still?
But Dave and I will talk about it and what we think needs to be done. Of course,
we should be running everything.
These idiots are not talking about the issues. The owners have given up on the one issue that I am passionate about, which pisses me off. We'll get to that. But of course, they're all worried about paying the players when they're younger instead of paying them when they're older. The players want the salary cap, the luxury tax threshold to go up to like $280 million, which rewards the Yankees and the Dodgers and the Mets and nobody else.
The cap. You have to keep the cap stable and increase the floor.
That's what we're going to get to here in the next segment, kids. Stay tuned. A little preview, a little taste.
A little minutiae of what we're going to discuss next.
Dave and I will be right back.
Yes. Listen, you will, to Sports Frenzy 2.0, you must. Much to learn from the maestro and conquistador there is for entertainment every Saturday. On Spotify, Anchor, Google, Apple, and everywhere are they found.
What is up, people? Welcome to the third and final segment of this week's Sports Frenzy 2.0 episode. I am the maestro, Kevin Crane.
I'm the conquistador, Dave Height.
February the 3rd, 2022. We're going to be posting this the second we are done, to get you the up-to-date sports information, criticism you need.
And deserve.
So we alluded to this last segment real quick. We do need to talk about baseball. The fact that these idiots, again, cannot get together, cannot figure out how to make this sport work. They are destroying it. The sport that Dave and I grew up with, that we loved when we were kids.
Yeah, the damn players are getting too greedy. They want all this arbitration money. They're worried about terms of service, blah, blah, blah. That's not where the focus needs to be.
Right. Yeah, we're looking already. It looks like there's no way we're going to avoid a delay in spring training. I have said, there are people out there who have said it. The main issue should be put a floor on the teams that do not spend money.
Make the Pirates
the Royals,
their money.
The
Make
Rays,
the Royals, the Rays, the A's.
$100 million floor. This is what initially last year the owners wanted, and this is what pisses me off. I alluded to this last segment. They have put this aside. They've decided this isn't even worth talking about. They were willing to put in a $100 million floor if the players were willing to put a $180 million cap in. And, of course, the players say, no, that sounds awful.
The players don't get it.
3 or 4 teams would have to come down from 200 plus million to 180. How many teams would you be bumping up? The can't call them the Indians anymore.
The Guardians.
The Guardians, the Rays, all these teams we just mentioned would have to spend tons more, double what they're spending right now to get to 100.
That's where the players are going to earn the money, not from the handful of the 2 or 3 teams that can afford.
And that's what the players want. The players want the luxury tax threshold bumped up to almost, over the next few years, $280 million, because they want the Yankees and they want the Dodgers and the Mets to spend crap tons of money and destroy the sport. This is what I understand about the greedy players.
They're
you can
idiots.
say all you want about the owners. The owners are idiots too. But in this case, in baseball's case, the players
are being
always
stupid.
destroy the game more than the owners do.
Yeah, the greed of the players is insane, because not every team is going to fork out that kind of money. But if you force teams to spend a minimum, that's where you're going to see the biggest gain for your salaries, guys.
If you look at all the teams that are spending under $100 million versus teams that are spending over 180, going back to that initial proposition last year that the owners were bandying about, that would have helped the game immeasurably. Parity, which is what the owners want, believe it or not. The owners want
more
parity.
competition.
They don't want the Dodgers, the Yankees, the Mets, the Cubs. Oh, well, not the Cubs anymore.
The Cubs anymore, but you don't want the same damn 3 or 4 teams winning every damn year. And
because
you're
they
getting
can
sick of
outspend everybody else.
You're sick of seeing the Pirates down at the bottom because they don't spend. You're seeing
the Rockies,
the Diamondbacks. I mean,
you can literally run through the leagues, American and National, and pick out 10 to 12 teams that are far below $100 million floor if they put that in.
Yeah.
And it would more than offset putting in a $180 million luxury tax threshold or cap.
Yeah.
But
more
again,
than make up for
let's eat. It's the snake eating its tail. Again,
yeah,
these players and their agents, Scott fucking Boras, don't care about the health of the game. They care about right here, right now.
The bottom line.
Give me the maximum amount of money I can get.
Scott Boras is the scourge of Major League Baseball. He is the death knell for the sport. If it fails, he can single-handedly take the blame for it.
Absolutely agree.
The man is a disaster.
We did not give enough credit. We did not give enough time because of the whole Brian Flores controversy and, of course, recapping the AFC and NFC championships. The GOAT is done.
Yep. Tom Brady has hung up the helmet and cleats for the last time.
It went back and forth over the last week. He didn't get to announce it when he wanted to.
The way he wanted. The way he did it was a big F you to Adam Schefter.
And the Patriots.
But Brady had, what was it, the TV or whatever deal with ESPN? Whatever show.
He did the Man in the Arena.
Right. He was going to announce it on that. And the production notes got out to Schefter, and he leaked it because that's what he does. That's what he's paid to do. And shame on the production folks for not being able to keep that under wraps, allowing Tom to do it his way. So, of course, he's going to deny it. And then we actually expected it to be on his podcast, but he delayed that even and made it via social media.
Instagram. Yep. So I'm sad as a Buccaneers fan to see him go, but he brought the Bucs another ring, and you can't deny beyond my personal involvement with the last 2 years with him as my quarterback with the Bucs.
Love him or hate him, but the guy was an incredible quarterback.
He won, and he won.
Regardless.
Except against Eli Manning.
Yeah. But regardless of who was around him, the turnover on all those teams.
He never had the best talent. The only team you could look at was maybe when they had Randy Moss and they went undefeated in the regular season all the way through to the Super Bowl.
On a fluke catch.
Yep. And we'll have more. Well, I'm sure we'll bring the GOAT up more here in the coming weeks and months.
But congratulations to Tom Brady on a brilliant career.
Unbelievable career. Yep. And now he gets to go home and screw Gisele Bündchen. And, of course, I saw a video today, the first day of his official retirement. He's on a yacht throwing footballs to David Beckham's son on a jet ski.
Oh, my God.
The jet ski is tooling around next to the yacht.
And he's just...
Yep. Oh, my God. Life is hard. Life is hard, right, Tom?
Must be rough.
Yep.
Well, now he just gets to do nothing and let his sugar mama take care of him, because we all know she makes the money in the family.
That's right. Yeah, that's when I saw initially it was Beckham. I was like, why is he hanging out with Beckham? I'm thinking, pretty man, pretty woman, pretty man, pretty woman. The model thing.
It's the whole model European Euro trash cycle.
All right, moving on to NASCAR. The exact opposite, the 180.
From Euro trash to white trash.
It's time for NASCAR to start up again, kids.
Vroom, vroom, baby. Let it go. Let's go.
First time ever, the Clash will be at the LA Coliseum. Why, I don't know.
I'm sick of LA. Nobody cares.
We kissed LA's ass. We kissed the West Coast ass.
For
you and
no
I have said
reason.
it for years and years with how they start these games late. Because we've got to make sure everybody can get home from work on the West Coast.
They don't care half the time. Los Angeles doesn't give a shit. Again, championship game. It was a hell of a lot of red down at SoFi Stadium. Despite the celebrities coming out for their social appearance.
Yeah, and we'll get to that later. I've got a little take on that coming up in our dumbass segment. But Clash at the Coliseum this coming Sunday night. NASCAR does hold the options for the next 2 years. So they can choose, if the ratings end up being good here, to run it in 23 and 24 again at the Coliseum.
That's a hell of a lot of money wasted on a temporary track.
That's the thing that I was thinking about the last couple days. How much money? What about safety protocols? Putting up a temporary track like this.
I mean, I love the dirt at Bristol. That's cheap compared to this.
Well, let's just wash it off.
Yeah.
You're putting in a track.
Yeah. You're having to put down wood over the existing surface. Then how many tons of gravel? And then the asphalt. It's ridiculous, the amount of effort going into this.
Could have had it in Daytona, like always. Could have had it in Daytona, but no, we can't do that. We've got to kiss Hollywood's ass again.
Ugh.
Now, the good thing about it, we talked about this last week, is that Tony Stewart will be in the booth with Clint Boyer.
Yes, so that's going to be awesome.
That'll be fun. It
so
gives us something to do
that.
without football this coming Sunday. Now, I was a little sad about this. The Martinsville Spring Race is being cut from 500 to 400 laps.
Hate it. Absolutely hate it.
I don't know what. I mean, they say it's because of the start time. They have to accommodate, because of the start time, cutting it from 5 to 400.
Why do you have to have such a late damn start time?
And this is the first time since, I think, the beginning of the Martinsville race where they've actually dropped to 400.
Yeah, this is stupid. I am so... Again, you're pandering to the damn West Coast. Ridiculous.
And finally, in racing, I did watch a little bit of the Rolex 24 at Daytona this past weekend. Kudos to Helio Castroneves. Yep. I still can't figure out this whole... You got 5 different classes of cars running. And so, you're watching, F1 cars and NASCARs and, all these other... But Castroneves won last year with Wayne Taylor. This year he wins with Michael Shank. Back-to-back, so...
Yep. The the husband of one of my wife's best friends. He's a gearbox specialist for Chip Ganassi Racing. And unfortunately, he had to report that they had an alternator go out and they fried some wires on their car, which put them out of contention. That happened in the middle of the night.
Oh, damn. All right, wrapping up here. Tennis. Of course, we've talked about the whole mess with Novak Djokovic. And I'm telling you, this is going to end up affecting history. Because Rafael Nadal won, came from behind, won. He is now 21 majors in tennis, the record setter on the men's side for now. But now the thing is, same issues that Djokovic had with the Aussie Open, they're saying could keep him out of the French. And Nadal's going to win the French because that's on clay.
Yeah.
That'll give Nadal a 2
This
Grand
whole
Slam
thing is a
lead.
joke. The way they're treating Djokovic is an absolute joke. It's appalling.
They are affecting sports history, and I don't like
They're
it.
ruining this guy's livelihood right now.
Now, he's still a little bit younger than Nadal. He could end up eventually
Yeah, but come on.
catching Nadal. I figure Federer's done. Next best thing to done.
Yeah. But
So Nadal's the one that's going to be going toe-to-toe with Djokovic here to set the record, to set the mark that I don't think anybody's ever going to match.
it's going to be damn difficult to do.
And Ash Barty on the women's side won her Open final. That was her 3rd Grand Slam. She is the first Aussie since 1978 to win the Aussie Open in a singles
Kudos
in a
to
singles
her
match.
in a singles match. Yeah.
Yes. So that was kind of cool.
You always like the hometown win.
Yep. Too bad most of American tennis players suck.
Yeah, they're not
I can't
too
remember
good
the
right
last
now.
time. Going back to what, McEnroe? When was the last time there was a
Agassi?
great Agassi? Yeah, I get you. Yeah, that's who you go with. And that's what, 15 years ago?
No, at least.
At least.
It's Sampras.
Sampras, yeah, he had a good run. You're right.
But it's been a while.
Yep.
It's been a long drought for a solid male American tennis player.
Yep. NCAA basketball. Auburn is still number 1 in the AP poll. Oh, and Bruce Pearl, guess what? Gets an 8-year, $50 million extension from Auburn.
Good God.
Again, not as egregious of a cheater
But still a cheater.
as Kelvin Sampson or, Rick Pitino.
Yeah.
But
But
that's what you
still,
get, kids. You cheat, you get money, you get paid.
only in college sports can you get away with that.
Last night was the game. Fuck. I was all set for last night for us doing our normal Wednesday night taping. Notre Dame and Miami. Fucking Irish won.
Mike freaking Bray pulls it off.
So right now, as we tape on Thursday, the Hurricanes dropped to 16-6. The Irish of Notre Dame are 15-7. Both still doing pretty well in the ACC. Both looking like they will make the big
tourney.
dance. Yep.
There you go. All right. NHL, a little bit. A controversy within the Blackhawks. Town hall meeting with the owner, Rocky Wirtz, and president of hockey operations, his son, Danny Wirtz, and their cohorts. And all week leading up in the Chicago news, they were talking about the Kyle Beach situation and what the Hawks are going to do moving forward, protecting players and dealing with those situations. And of course, you would have expected it was going to come up Well, Danny Wirtz and another executive, when the question was asked, started to answer what they were doing. Rocky, who knows what the hell was going on through his head, decided to get combative with the media and didn't want to answer. And they said, we've dealt with all of that. We're moving forward. Don't want to talk about it anymore. And had to later come out and apologize. Danny had contacted the reporters who Rocky went off on and said, we want to sit down and answer your questions. We're going to set up another meeting. We'll get this resolved. We want to tell you what we're doing. So having to do the make good. He was starting to answer and Dad jumped all over it. Don't know what the hell was going on. Also, for their GM search, the Hawks are smart, unlike the Bears. The Hawks are actually relying on help from 3 former players. Eddie Olczyk, one of the greatest American-born hockey players, from Chicago, drafted by the Hawks, played with them. He's also had a stint as a head coach and a GM as well. Great hockey analyst for NBC Sports. He's involved with it. They brought Marian Hossa in. Big Hoss coming back to help out. And they also have Patrick Sharp, another studio analyst, to help out with their GM search. So kudos for bringing in a player perspective. Now, I just wish Eddie Olczyk would have been considered for the GM position, but Eddie's got his health issues, had a stint a few years ago with cancer and wants to focus on staying healthy with that. And with his, I'm sure he could have gotten out of his broadcasting gig, but I think it might be a little much for him at this point. So hopefully that will work out well.
Yeah, Blackhawks right now are 16-23-7. Not the worst, but
no, but they're a far cry from where they actually should be.
And the problem is the West is a lot tougher than the East.
Yeah, big
they would
time.
probably be middle of the pack in the East, but as it is in the West, they're down towards the bottom.
Yeah, and they're just so damn inconsistent.
Yep. Of course, now we're going into the All-Star break, so
again, who cares?
All right, Dave, why don't you lead us into our moment of silence?
Well, I was going to talk golf real quick. You've heard the rival golf league, right?
Yes.
The Saudi-backed Super Golf League got the PGA a little concerned, so the PGA has been upping the purses to help keep the middle, lower-tiered guys a little more interested in sticking around with them. They've added money to the overall FedEx Cup pot. So we'll see how this all plays out. Could be very interesting.
And I still think, and I've said it for years and years, there's got to be a way to make the FedEx Cup more interesting. You got 4 majors. There's got to be a way to take a couple more tournaments and make them more important. To almost have 6 or 7 majors.
You should have to play 6 or 7 majors, including the 4 preeminent ones.
Right.
But there should be a 6 or 7 that you have to qualify and play in to be eligible for the FedEx Cup.
Yeah.
Not just play these 4.
Right.
You should have to really put the effort in.
Right. Because that's the thing I hate about golf is that these guys skip these tournaments. Tiger Woods was the worst. He would go play in Dubai because they would just basically kiss his ass and throw money at him.
Yeah, like the Super League ones.
But he would actually skip legitimate, solid tournaments here in America that really counted heavily towards the FedEx. I agree with you. They've got to put some kind of rule in to say you need to play these tournaments. Otherwise, you're not even in consideration for the FedEx Cup.
Yep. Completely agree on that. All right, moment of silence. Big one in basketball. Hall of Fame coach, championship winner with the Celtics, Bill Fitch, has passed away. Thoughts and prayers go out to his family.
So, of course, with a few minutes left, time dwindling, precious time we should be spending with our family, our friends.
Time.
What better thing to do than to call out the dumbasses in our society, especially those in sport? It is time to pivot.
Pivot.
It's time to play Dumbass or Not, the Red Foreman Dumbasses of the Week. I have 4 for David to evaluate. He can tell me I am full of shit, or he can agree with me.
Let us begin.
Number 1, Kansas City Chiefs. Again, they can't get out of their way. They cannot get out of their own way. Whether it's the Mahomes family, whether it's the Reed family. Kansas City brought on cornerback Damon Arnett, who had been cut in November by the Raiders because he was the one that posted the online death threats holding a gun.
Yep.
The Kansas City Chiefs brought him in on a futures contract. Guess what? They had to cut him because he got arrested again in Las Vegas on gun and drug charges.
We have talked about this ad nauseum with sports in general and all the players with their history of stupid behavior. When are you going to learn to cut bait with these guys? Do not give them chance after chance after chance. They're criminals and thugs and will continue to be so. Just because they can play doesn't give them the right to be kept out of jail and not be held accountable. He's a dumbass, and I call out the Chiefs for giving him the opportunity.
And are we starting to see we've talked about this for years and years, and I don't think it's an issue. I'll put that right out there right now. But you notice a lot of these problems over the last 6 months to a year have been in Las Vegas.
Yep.
And everybody said going into Las Vegas with these professional teams could cause a lot, not these problems. We were thinking it was going to be gambling.
Yeah. We were thinking
Fixing
gambling
games and
issues.
things like that.
No, these guys are just, I don't know.
All right, number 2. So do you agree or not? Dumbass?
Oh, dumbass all around.
The Nebraska Cornhuskers feel as though they had to alter their longtime mascot, Herbie Husker, because Herbie Husker was flashing in his traditional, everything on the shirts, everything on the banners, an OK symbol.
Oh, no, you can't have that anymore.
Because that's white supremacy.
Oh, for the love of God.
So now they had to change it to a thumbs up because he was doing the OK symbol. And of course, that's been co-opted by white supremacists.
Yeah, how about we freaking not give the white supremacists any more fucking credit for anything? Keep shit the way it is. I'm so sick of this shit.
We're taking it back! We're taking back the OK symbol!
Fuck you, white supremacist Nazi bastards.
We're like Randall and Clerks 2. We're taking it back.
We're taking it back.
And here's the other thing I thought of with this. What about buckwheat?
Buckwheat
Otay! Is he a white supremacist? Is buckwheat a white supremacist? Otay!
Oh my God, I hate this stupidity.
So we 2 for 2?
Yes, we're 2 for freaking 2.
All right, number 3. I'm all for these schools trying to find creative ways to distract the opposing team when they get up to the free throw line and trying, doing stuff, holding banners and posters up behind the backboard. I think Davidson went too far. Davidson and VCU were playing here last week. The Davidson men's swim team came out in their Speedos and were thrusting as the VCU players were shooting free throws.
No. Kudos to them.
Oh, come on. Who wants to see a male guy? Put the cheerleaders up there. Put the cheerleaders up there. Don't put a guy in a Speedo up there thrusting. Oh, my God. And kids, you can go find the video. If you choose to, that's on you.
No, I'm not going dumbass on that.
Oh,
I'm going
okay.
creativity right there.
All right, that's cool. It wouldn't be fun if Dave did not overrule me once in a while. But I just thought,
it's disgusting, but I can't call him a dumbass for it.
The Speedo. Oh, my God. Oh,
yeah, it's gross and
distracting.
disgusting. It's distracting, but they're not dumbasses.
So finally, over the past weekend at the NFC Championship game, LA Mayor Eric Garcetti posing, taking pictures with Magic Johnson, Hall of Famer, one of the greatest basketball players of all time, with the LA Lakers. But of course, they have strict mask mandates out in LA.
Yes, they do.
So people asked the mayor, said, well, why didn't you have your mask on when you were taking pictures with Magic Johnson? Dave, stop.
I held my breath. He's a politician in California. Of course he's a fucking dumbass. They all are.
Yeah, that one was pretty easy.
Yeah, that's a no-brainer.
Yep.
Because they're a politician in California, you have no brain.
They do what they want to do and tell everybody else
what to do.
Yes. Do as we say, not as we do.
Because
that should be the official motto for California.
For how many years have we been promised the great earthquake that would put California into the ocean?
I'm still hearing people that want to split California up into 2 or 3 different states because it's not, the whole state is not representative of what the areas think, how they vote,
right?
What they want for the future of that state.
Yeah, you've got 2 major metropolitan areas with high populations
that rule the whole thing.
Ruin it for everybody else.
Yep. But we don't ruin it for you. We love you. We're glad you check out the weekend edition. James Bond. Tons of fun stuff. Rock and Roll Hall of Fame nominees. I'm the maestro, Kevin Crane.
I'm the conquistador, Dave Height. Drop us a line. See you next time.